What's going on, everybody? Captain Gonzo back again here at that Flight Sim channel, and today we'll be taking one of my favorite aircraft, the Cirrus SR22. We'll be doing a short hop from Marathon down here in the lovely Florida Keys up to Ocean Reef Club, which is in Key Largo. Small little strip, and it'll be a fun little flight, guys. You guys know the deal with these basic tutorials. We start off with an exterior pre-flight inspection. As always, guys, quick disclaimer: don't ever take anything we say or do here in the simulator as real-world instruction. Get yourself a certified flight instructor and do it the right way. Okay, guys? So, just for clarification, as I always mention, I am a private pilot, and although my experience is mostly on the Cessna family and some Pipers, I do have a bit of time on the Cirrus SR22, a G5 Turbo, as well as an SR20. So, with that out of the way, guys, let's go ahead and begin. You know the deal. We're right here on the nose. Let's go ahead and remove the inlet plugs here. Take a look in there, looking for bird nests, FOD, anything that could have gotten in there in between the flights. Looks good. We're going to inspect the propeller blades. Spinner looks great. Alright, propellers look great. Let's go ahead and pull the chocks while we're here. We pull them from the nose gear, and it also takes them off of the main gears. As you can see, we've got the fairings on. This is your typical layout on most Cirrus nowadays. It's very uncommon to see them without the fairings unless they're flight schools and stuff like that. So those look good. Inlets here look clean, clear. Cowling looks intact. Everything is great. All the fasteners are there. Let's go ahead and pull that cabin cover. We can see here you've got your external power, your GPU connection. It is secured. We're going to be using battery for the startup. You've got your de-ice light here, which illuminates the leading edge of the wing here, and it shows us if we've got any icing condition. And just a quick lesson, you guys might have heard me mention it on the Caravan tutorial. This airplane does have that TKS de-icing fluid, and so you'll see the leading edge here on the wing, as well as the horizontal stabilizer and the empennage have that metal leading edge. So you find your TKS tanks here on both sides of the airplane, and you fill that with TKS fluid. And there's little holes here, micropores, that will seep de-ice fluid when turned on to break up that ice. Let's go ahead and remove our pitot cover. We are checking our landing lights here, which are on both wingtips. Nav light, left red, right green, strobe light. And then you also have a strobe here on the aft end or trailing edge of the wingtip. And then you've got this nice LED strip which just illuminates on the ramp, and it looks pretty cool. We're checking the aileron here. It looks good. Flaps look good. Fuel cap, we could have checked it when we were in the front. Verify for some fuel. That looks great. Inspect your luggage. You can see the Asobo bug here showing a plexiglass door. Don't know why it does that, but we'll close it. I don't see my golf clubs in there, so that's an issue. We're checking our static port here. It looks good, no covers on it. Back here, you've got your Cirrus aircraft parachute system, the CAPS. I believe that's what the abbreviation stands for. If you don't know, Cirrus have a trademark feature, which is a parachute. And if you are in a real-world situation and you encounter an emergency, let's say you have a engine loss and you can't put the aircraft down safely, on the overhead console on the plane, on the overhead top there's a handle. You pull it nice and easy, and the aircraft will deploy a parachute and bring you down. And your chances of surviving are definitely going to be higher. Alright, checking the horizontal stabilizer leading edge. Looks good. Elevators look good on this side. Rudder is A-OK. Static wicks and the antennae up there look fine. I don't see anything out of the norm. Tie down has been removed from the tail end. Again, checking the horizontal stabilizer leading edge. That looks good. Once again, taking a look at our starboard side static port here on the right-hand side. Flap looks good. Right main looks good. Aileron is okay. Again, inspecting the light assembly. Here's a cool one. This is your stall warning. So this little piece of metal here will start vibrating when the aircraft is in that high angle of attack and approaching a stall. This will start shaking here, and you'll get an audible warning in the cockpit. So that's where it's at, guys. It's on your right wing. And we're going to walk here. We can check the fuel cap as well. Yep, we got gas. That's good. TKS fluid cover or tank here. There it is. But I'd say that's a good pre-flight inspection on the exterior. No chocks, no tie downs, nothing that's going to keep us here. And I don't know if you can see it here. I forgot how to crouch here on my controls. That little sensor pod there underneath the left wing. So this is a G6 SR22, and I believe from G5 and on, maybe even earlier generations, they included an option where it has a little camera, and you can take a look underneath your wing and see what's going on. So pretty cool feature. The Cirrus aircraft are like what Gulfstream are to jets. They're just amazing aircraft, very, very sophisticated avionics, and yeah, they're very desirable. And I want to buy one day, but let's see how that goes. Anyways, guys, pre-flight inspection is complete. Let's jump right in. Okay, guys, we're on the flight deck of the Cirrus SR22, and as you can see, if you watch Captain Flako's video on the Cessna 400 Corvallis, or you fly it in the sim, you can see that it's pretty similar, right? You've got a side stick, although I believe they still consider it a side yoke. It's interesting what Cirrus calls it, but we'll call it a side stick. So left, right, aft is up, forward is down, nothing changes there. So very roomy cockpit compared to like the Cessna and other manufacturers. But you can see Cirrus makes it very easy. You've got a beautiful keypad here, numbers, and it makes data entry into your FMS here on the G1000 a lot easier. So let's go ahead and get ready to fire up the aircraft. Let's go ahead and get our battery 1 and 2 switches on, because we'll be using the built-in checklist that is on the Cirrus. And there we go. You've got your before starting engine, so pre-flight inspection has been complete. And remember, you can cycle through these items by pressing check on your line select key here on the MFD. Weight and balance, verify within limits. So let's go ahead and check that. So how do we check the weight and balance? Well, you can press exit on your MFD, and then using your FMS rotary knobs here, you can use the outer one, the big one, and you can scroll to the right to the auxiliary page. And then you can use this smaller knob and you can go through these pages, but the one we want to look at is our weight and balance. So this is going to show you your performance envelope of the aircraft. As you can see, our takeoff expected to be inside that performance window there, so we're within weight limits, and our current weight is still within. So if you ever see your values sticking up here, it'll let you know. And obviously you will have to adjust your payload, your fuel, and all that to make sure you're within limits. So anyways, that looks good. Let's go to fuel. Looks like we've got 47 gallons usable. And the flight today will be from Marathon up to Ocean Reef. So it'll be a quick flight, probably like 20 minutes en route. And we'll do a simple visual approach because we do not have any precision approaches into Ocean Reef. Okay, so let's go back to the weight and balance. If everything looks good and you're happy with it, we'll press confirm. And then you can just go to the farmost right key and pull up that checklist again. So weight and balance, verify within limits. Emergency equipment on board. So we do have a fire extinguisher here just below the pilot seat. And as well as your caps, your parachute system up here. So we'll remove that cover now. And you would check that there isn't any pin there. You remove it before flight. That's all good. Passenger briefing. Let them know what the plan is for today, what you expect of them, and so forth, or so on. Seats and seat belts and harnesses are secured, and then you've got some warnings and cautions. If you guys want to read through that, you can pause the video. I'll just skip through these to save some time. Now here's your starting engine checklist, and it has a warning if you'll be using external power, but that is not the case today. So here we go. Alternator should be left off during the engine start to avoid high electrical loads. During start, limit your cranking to intervals of 10 seconds with a 20-second cooling period between cranks. This will improve the battery life and the contactor life. So, external power, we're going to skip that. Brakes, parking brake is set. You can see that black handle here. Battery master switch is on, so we got to check the bolts. And you can see right now we've got 25.7 bolts. You can go to the engine page here. And on your electrical section here, you can see that we're at 25.7. So that's good. We'll press engine again. Checklist. Strobe lights, let's turn them on. Your lights are found here on this forward panel here, just underneath your primary flight display or your PFD. Strobe is on. Mixture full rich, so we'll set the mixture full rich. I don't know why my lever's not going all the way forward, but there we go. That's good. Power lever, we'll go full forward. And then you're going to want to turn your fuel pump to boost. Make sure the propeller area is clear. We don't see anybody outside. Looks good. Power lever, we'll bring it back to open about 1/4 inch. And before I keep moving, if you notice when the power was full forward, because we have the fuel pump on boost, you can see your fuel flow. That's what you want to see, right? That's letting us know that we're feeding the engine from the fuel tanks. So we'll go ahead and bring back the power. About 1/4 inch. Ignition switch, we'll set it to the right to start and release it after the engine starts. So here we go, guys. Clear prop. That's a good engine start right there. Mixture, we're going to lean it until the RPM rises to a maximum value. And then we'll leave the mixture in this setting. So you can see here our RPM right now is at 1333. So lean it by bringing your mixture back. You can see the RPM rising. We're still rising. There's the peak right there, about 1460-ish. So now that we've got it there, we'll retard the power lever to maintain about 1000 RPM. There we go. It's kind of settling back. That's close enough there. Or about shy of 1100. I'm okay with that. Oil pressure. You got your oil PSI indicator here on your engine indicating system here. We're at 58. We're in the green. Alternator master switches have to come on. These are your alternator switches here. Throw them on. Avionics power switch. Right next to it. Throw it on. Engine parameters monitor, so everything is in the green right now. Oil temperature still a little cold. It'll slowly climb up. We're verifying our cylinder head temperatures right here. Turbine inlet temperature right here as well. They should start climbing, and your exhaust gas temperature. Let's go back to the checklist. External power, if you connected it, disconnected. And your amp meter indication, check it. So once again, amperage is good in the green, plus 16. Good batteries at 28.1. And that is your starting engine checklist. So now it'll go to the next checklist. We'll open it, and it is our before taxiing checklist. So let's go ahead and verify the flaps are up. They are up indeed. Here's your flap handle, by the way, just forward of your mixture and your throttle. Radios and avionics as required. So you can see your radios are online. Otherwise, you would see red X's over them. And that's why you powered on your avionics, to make sure you've got power on those radios. Cabin heat defrost as required, not needed. Fuel selector switch. So if you look down here, turn boost pump on during takeoff, climb, landing, and switching fuel tanks. So right now we're going to switch fuel tanks. Make sure you're on boost. Now we're on the right tank. As you can see, we've used up a little bit of gas on that left tank, so we're going to try to maintain good balance on both tanks there. That's good. Okay, for taxiing, so we're going to try to maintain power at idle here at 1000 RPM. And this aircraft does not use a nose wheel steering like you're used to in other aircraft. It's actually going to be using your differential braking. So the way you steer is, if you want to go right, you step on those brakes a little bit on the top right there of your rudder pedal, and the aircraft nose wheel will turn in that direction. So for taxiing, we'll disengage the parking brake, we'll check the brakes, we'll verify our HSI or horizontal situation indicator orientation, make sure that it makes sense what we're pointing at right now. We'll check the attitude on the gyro, so make sure that this on your PFD, primary flight display, is making sense. Remember, we've got a slight pitch up attitude as we're on the ground. And look at your backup attitude indicator as well to verify that it matches what you're seeing on your primary. And your turn coordinator, verify it. turn coordinator is found up here, these two pyramids facing each other, and you've got your slip indicator here, indicating your yaw. So they're aligned, wings are level. That's good. We're going to go ahead and open the next checklist, which is our before takeoff. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and start taxiing to runway 25, I believe, here out of Marathon. And then we'll pick back up as we're getting ready to do a run-up. Parking brakes are off. Using that differential braking, you can see I'm just right now maintaining that power at idle. We'll swing around here. Nice shuttle bus there, right in the middle. And we'll continue our taxi here to get ready for our run-up. Alright, we're holding short here from runway 25 on Alpha. So let's go ahead and take this time to set up a flight plan. Now this will be a very basic flight plan. Keep in mind that is the intention with these tutorials, hence the basic tutorial series. Alright guys, so typical Garmin fashion, you want to look for that FPL or flight plan key, which is found here. Press that, and then to enable your cursor, you're going to want to right click on the FMS smaller knob. There you see it, it's highlighted. Use the bigger wheel now, so let me bring the camera over. Let's go to origin, and then we're going to set the scroll wheel there, give it a click, and now we can just type it in. So in this instance, it would be Kilo Mike Tango Hotel for Marathon. There we go. Press enter. For the runway, we'll use that smaller knob to select runway 25. Enter. And enter to accept. Once again, we'll skip the unroute. And for our destination, we'll repeat the same process. Scroll down using the big wheel. Use the smaller knob. And in this case, it would be 07 Foxtrot Alpha. Ocean Reef Club, Key Largo, that's the one we want. Enter, enter, and for that runway we'll use runway 23 as wind conditions are similar as they are here in Marathon. So we'll press enter, accept, and there you have it. So now we can press the flight plan key, zoom out using the range knob here, a little joystick, and look at that. We've got a nice magenta line straight from Marathon over to Ocean Reef. So let's go ahead and zoom back in. And now that we've done that, I think we're ready to do our run-up. And before we set up for that run-up, let's go ahead and set our parameters for the autopilot. So right now we are going to be heading north-northeast towards Ocean Reef. So what we'll do is we'll select an odd level altitude here. So let's do 7,500. You guys watched my previous videos, I believe it was on the Caravan. I'll try to link it here or put it on the video as well. Remember, when we're cruising on a easterly heading between 000, right, north, and 179 degrees, you want to be at odd level flight levels. And if you're westbound or between 180 and 359 degrees, you want to be at even levels. And then when you're in visual flight rules, VFR, you add 500 on top of that to create good separation from other traffic. So now that we've got that set, we can go ahead and set a heading towards, let's see. Yeah, let's set it to the north-northeast there. Let's do 040. That's a decent heading. Okay, so that's all set. Let's go ahead and pull up the checklist now, guys. So the Capt handle, remember that is the parachute handle right above. It wants us to verify that the pin is pulled. I don't see a pin. It is good. Seat belts and shoulder harnesses are secured. Air conditioner as required. We'll leave it there. And it's saying use of recirc mode prohibited in flight. You want to be bringing fresh air in through your cabin, not recirculating the air. Aircraft with optional air conditioning system, you have to add 100 feet to your ground roll distance and 150 feet distance over 50-foot obstacles if the AC is on during takeoff. Remember, AC system is drawing power from that battery and alternator, so you're taking away a little bit of performance from the engine. So if you're going to be doing a short field takeoff, keep in mind that you have to still stay within those parameters to clear the 50-foot obstacles at the end of that runway on departure. Fuel quantity confirm. So we can go back here. We can go to engine. Fuel, weight, and balance. And if you're happy with that, you've confirmed your fuel, you're good to go. Let's go to fuel, weight, and balance. Confirm. Checklist. That's set. Fuel selector to the fullest tank. We are on the right tank. You can see it's still a little bit higher than the left side. Fuel pump is on boost. We just checked it. Mixture full rich. Let's go ahead and set it full rich. And again, let me manually throw it in there. Yeah, sorry guys, I don't know why my controller is not sending the mixture full rich, but I'm okay with that. Just make sure you're in full rich. Flaps 50% and check. They are coming down. They are down. Transponder set, so we'll go to our PFD. XPDR key. We are already in VFR 1200, and we'll set it to altitude reporting. Press back. Autopilot check. We can press the autopilot key.
Engaging autopilot.
You can see, you heard it say engaging autopilot. You see your roll, autopilot, yaw damper. So now that we know it is good, check our nav radios and GPS, set for takeoff. We've already done that. Cabin heat and defrost as required. Brakes hold. Power lever up to 1700 RPM. So we'll go ahead and bring up the throttle. There's 1700, right on the money. Alternator, check. So let's go ahead and back to our engine page. Alternator looks good. Everything is showing in the green. Pitot heat on. Pitot heat is found right here. Nav lights are on. It's going to be the first light switch there. Landing light is on. Let's go ahead and throw it on. There we go. Annunciator lights check. So right now, it wants us to verify that both alternator 1 and 2 caution lights out and positive amps indication for each alternator. I don't see any alternator callouts. Once again, verifying positive. That's good. Voltage is looking good. We've got 28.2 volts. Pitot heat as required. It is on. And then here is telling you that the pitot heat should be turned on for flight into IMC, or instrument meteorological conditions, flight into visible moisture, or whenever ambient temperature are 41 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 5 degrees Celsius or less. So we are good. Right now you can see our outside air temperature is negative 16 degrees Celsius, which is pretty crazy because we're in Florida, but that's good enough. Navigation lights as required, they're on. Landing lights as required. Now we're going to check the magnetos. Remember, RPM drop must not exceed 150 RPM for either magneto, and the differential between both of these magnetos should not exceed 75 RPM. So we'll start with the left magneto. Here we go. So down from 1700 to 1660, back to both. There's 1700. Now we'll check the right magneto. Very similar there, so definitely well within the 75 RPM differential. Let's go back to both. And these steps walks you through setting the ignition switches like we just did. Verify engine parameters. Everything's good. Everything's in the green. You've got your EGT, TIT, and your CHTs here, all showing good. Power lever, we'll bring it back to 1000 RPM. There we go. Flight instruments, HSI, and altimeter check and set. We've got altimeter set to 3013. Now let me verify that real quick. Okay, so our altimeter has to be at 29906. I just verified the weather. There we go. Alright guys, so now we'll check the flight controls, make sure that they are free and correct. Left aileron, right aileron, elevator, rudder. They are free and correct. Trim set for takeoff. So if you look here, I'll use the co-pilot side for just because it's easier. You want to trim until you see that black tab within the TO or takeoff config. Autopilot disconnect, so we'll press the autopilot disconnect. And then if icing conditions are anticipated immediately after takeoff, we'll use the ice protection system I'm going to adjust the outside air temperature. This is very unrealistic for Florida, so stand by. Okay guys, so I went ahead and readjusted that temperature. As you can see right now, outside air temperature is 18 degrees Celsius. Much more realistic to what you expect here in Florida. And in between the recording, I had to step away for a couple hours. So I had to reset the time, because even when you're in the escape menu, the time around you in the world keeps moving forward. So this is about as close as we can get to the sunset we had. So if icing conditions are anticipated immediately after takeoff, that's where you have these checks here. However, we will not need to do these, so let's go ahead and use the scroll knob here. Let's go to the next checklist, which is the normal takeoff. So let's go ahead and get ready to take the runway here. Alright, approach end looks clear. Runway is vacant, nobody's on it. Runway is ours. We'll hold here. So what we're going to do is release the brakes. We will steer with the rudder. We'll set the power lever full forward. We'll verify engine parameters as we are adding power. And then we'll rotate smoothly at 77 to 80 knots. As you can see on your primary flight display, your PFD, you've got some figures here. You've got R, X, G, and Y. So R is your rotation speed, so it's already in there for you at 77. X is your VX, or your best angle of climb, at 88. Your glide speed, which is 92 knots. If you were to lose your engine, that's what you would pitch for and maintain to establish a good glide ratio. And lastly, your best rate of climb at VY at 103 knots. So we'll be looking at 77 to 80, and then once we hit 90 knots indicated airspeed, flaps will come up. And note that the fuel boost should be left on during takeoff and for the climb as required for vapor suppression with hot or warm fuel. Copy that. So now let's go ahead and press checklist again. Let's fast forward through here, and we'll do a full power climb. And we'll leave it ready there. So let's go ahead and exit here, and let's begin the takeoff roll. There's the power. All engine indicating systems are green. Everything looks good. And we're rotating. There's 92 knots, so let's go ahead and clean the flaps up. And we'll continue climbing here in this runway heading up to 7,500 feet. Let's adjust the instrument brightness there for my displays. Let's come back to our checklist. So oxygen as required. Power full forward. Mixture, maintain fuel flow in the green arc. You can look here, you can see that white arrow or the white triangle is aligning with the green area for the fuel flow. We're still holding VY there for best rate of climb. Flaps verify up. They are up. Airspeed 120 knots indicated airspeed. So now we can reduce pitch, let the airspeed climb up until we hit 120 knots. In the meantime, as we're climbing, boost pump in boost, checked. Fuel flow, we'll monitor it as we continue our climb, and monitor your engine parameters. So then we'll skip through this checklist. Let's go ahead and call up our cruise checklist, which we'll be needing here momentarily. And once we get to 120 knots, I will engage the autopilot. Wow, I was stepping on my right rudder pedal the entire time. No wonder we were steering off course. Okay, still pitching down. There's 117, 118.
Engaging autopilot.
Let's go to autopilot and flight level change. And as you can see, on top of your airspeed indicator there is showing 120 knots. That's where we engage the flight level change. So now the aircraft is going to climb to 7,500 feet whilst maintaining 120 knots. So while that's happening, let's go ahead and enable heading mode, since we had a predetermined heading to head north-northeast. There's the flight director, that magenta triangle, the forward-facing lines there, pretty much telling you where it wants you to pitch up and bank your wings to follow that track. So hands are off the controls. We're climbing through 4,000 feet right now, on our way up to 7,500, beginning that turn towards the northeast. Let's exit. Let's pull up the map. As you can see, we are turning to intercept that course directly to Ocean Reef Club. Nice weather out here today. We've got some ceilings up as low as, I think it was at 1,500 feet above ground level. We can expect the same conditions once we get to Key Largo. So it'll be interesting. We should still have some visual conditions. Visibility is good from what I remember in the AWOS, or the Automated Weather Observation for Ocean Reef. We should have about 9 miles of visibility, so that's good enough for me for the visual approach that we will be doing. So let's continue the climb, and then we will establish ourselves at 7,500 feet. And as we're heading there, let's go ahead and turn that heading a little bit more towards the east to set up a good intercept course for our track. And you can see, guys, we are climbing smoothly at 1,400 feet a minute here, maintaining 120 knots in flight level change. You can see there on your primary flight display those boxes showing the desired track that aligns with your magenta line here. So we can continue turning east. Let's make it 090. There we go, and you can see your heading bug being set here on the HSI, as well as the value on your course index. There we go. And we're going to set ourselves up into like a 45-degree angle to intercept that course. So we'll see you guys as we establish ourselves on the cruise. Here we are, guys. About to level off at 7,500 feet. We're still full power on this climb out. And as you can see, our airspeed is picking up. We've got a nice tailwind there of about 15 knots, and then a crosswind factor of 32 knots. So those winds are coming from the south right now, southwest. And so it's going to be a good day. We're going to gain some good ground speed here as we continue our way up towards Key Largo. So now that we're establishing ourselves at 7,500 feet, let's go ahead and pull up that cruise checklist. So oxygen as required. Won't need it at 7,500 feet. Cruise altitude established. Power lever. We're going to reduce to 30.5 inches of mercury or less. So here we go. So we're at 29.8. Let's bring back overall power percent to about 75. There we go. We're holding at 2,500 RPM, 27.5 inches of pressure on the manifold. And look at that. We're cruising at 154 indicated with a ground speed of 190 knots. Not bad at all for a single engine. Fuel pump as required. Let's go ahead and switch tanks, because right now we are on the right, and as you can see, it's getting lower. And guys, let's go back to the map for a second. You can see we're about to intercept the course here, so let's go ahead and switch our CDI, course deviation indicator, to GPS and press nav mode. Now, the autopilot is gonna find that desired track. Remember from my caravan video where I mentioned some values up here? You've got your ground speed, desired track, and your current track. So right now the autopilot is seeking that 056 degrees desired track to get on course towards Key Largo. And we've got a value up here, ETE, estimated time en route, showing our time till we get to Key Largo. To the right, again, ETE for your destination. You've got fuel on destination, 33 gallons. Your airport identifier as your destination, distance to go, and your bearing from your current position. So there we go. We're inside the boxes. Let's come back to that checklist. So the fuel pump, let's go ahead and turn it off. Now we've already switched over to the other tank. Mixture, let's adjust the mixture. So you can see we're running very rich right now. We're just above the green, so we can use that mixture knob. Pull back the mixture and look at your fuel flow. Let's bring it somewhere in the green here. I say about 16-ish, 17 gallons an hour is a good flow rate here for the Cirrus. There we go. And you can see with the mixture set, we are well within the green at 16 gallons an hour. We're at 70% power, RPM's 2,500. good manifold pressure. That's a good cruise output there. Engine parameters, let's take a closer look. Everything's in the green. Highest right now that I'm seeing is cylinder 3 and 6 at 320 degrees. I'm okay with that. Everything else checks out. Fuel flow and balance, we just switched tanks because you can see we were at 18 gallons on the right and at like 22 gallons on the left. So we're on the left now feeding. And if you experience any cylinder head temperatures exceeding 420 degrees Fahrenheit, you want to continue to lean that mixture and monitor to see what happens with that CHT. And there you have it, guys. So now it's pulling up the known icing conditions in flight. We will not need that right now. Let's pull up the checklist page. Let's use that scroll. And we'll call up the descent checklist. And we'll leave it ready there. So we'll say oxygen as required. That's already set. Altimeters, we'll verify it as we continue inbound to Key Largo. And we'll pick back up as we're getting ready to descend, guys. Alright guys, so this concludes part 1 of this tutorial series where we're covering startup, taxi before takeoff, takeoff, climb, and establishing on a cruise. We're going to release the second part here shortly after this part is released. I figured this is probably easier for people to follow along. I know it gets a little tiresome and complicated trying to track everything in one video, so for the sake of time and to make it easier for you guys, our watchers, we're going to be releasing part 2, which will cover the descent, approach, landing, and shutdown once we arrive to Key Largo in the Cirrus SR22. Thank you guys for watching, stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly for part 2.